ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, all right? Make sure you log it in and you remember to check out my good friends over at the Broken Table Podcast live on YouTube. These are some of my good friends. They have some of the best topics going on. They're talking about a lot of good things. And also, they like to put over the Prince Nana dance. Hey, I swerve and I drive. I swerve and I drive. Hey. Don't forget, tune in, log on to the Broken Tables Podcast live on YouTube, my friends.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Broken Tables Podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Vegas, here as always with our reigning, defending Broken Predictions champion, King Rome. How you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Jeff. I saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie today.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was actually really good. I
Nice.
liked it a lot. The critics didn't like it, Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience score was like I think it was like 89. So yeah, I ended up enjoying it. I went into it, and it was pretty good.
All right, nice. That's good to hear. Thank you guys for joining us on the Broken Tables Podcast here. Please hit that like button and drop an elbow on the subscribe button if you don't mind for us. Help get us out there into the algorithm. What's up, Coog? Already here in chat. Thank you very much. He's watching The Grinch on TNT, ready for the show. Thank you very much, sir. So, Rome, the AEW Continental Classic, America or North America's G1, if you will, has been announced by Tony Khan and Bryan Danielson. My God. I tried to say Daniel Bryanson. What do you think, man? This is freaking huge. I keep seeing people on Twitter that were like, oh, big deal. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like people that aren't making a big deal out of this don't know how big of a deal it is. Like this is going to be the North American version, AEW's answer to the G1. And I love it. I think it's great. I mean, look, some people don't like tournaments, and the overuse of them, and I get that.
Yeah,
I am not one of those people. I love a good tournament.
me too.
There's so much value to a tournament, and it just makes everything you do in a tournament, it just raises the stakes of, like, you know what I mean? It's regular matches. They feel like they matter more because it's like sudden death or whatever. I mean, this is not a sudden death style tournament, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm very excited. We'll get more into
it. Yep. So I thought this was a fantastic episode of Collision. Did you catch where it was from? I didn't happen to catch the city that they were in.
Oh, where were they?
Yeah, I didn't hear them say it. They probably said it once or twice at least, but for some reason I missed it, so I do apologize. But I did think it was a good crowd. Didn't have any problems with the crowd. And I thought it was a great episode pretty much from top to bottom. I can't really remember anything I disliked. Maybe we'll go through this and I'll find something, but let's go ahead and get into it. We had the pre-show promos again, and this might have been one of my favorite groupings of pre-show promos since like the original 3 episodes. This set of promos was really, really good, especially when the Righteous came on, and you had Jake the Snake being like, yeah, I get what you're saying, man. You know what I mean? Like kind of how we've been doing that back and forth. It was so good. I loved these pre-show promos.
Yeah, they were really strong. I love the cold open pre-show promos. Really get you ready for the show, and I'm glad that they're doing them again.
It was fantastic. We started off the show with Andrade El Idolo with CJ Perry coming out with him. Apparently he did accept her offer is what I took from this. You know, he kind of looked over his shoulder and he smiled, and she was ringside for him the entire match. So I'm assuming that he is now part of her, I don't want to say stable because, you know, it is what it is so far. It's just one person, but you know. And this was a great match, man. This was versus Daniel Garcia, and Garcia, he loses his second match in a row here, which I don't have a huge problem with because he looked freaking awesome in both matches.
Mhm.
And this one as well, he looked great. There's a really funny spot with him and CJ Perry where he danced for her and she kind of tried to dance back. But Andrade picks up the win with the figure eight. Garcia taps out.
So what? So hold on. First, what's up to Ryan in the chat and Matthew Holland? Ryan. So I have a really funny story about that. Swear to God, it's a true story. So this was back in the day. It was like 2013. I was still watching WWE at this point. So my friend and I, we went to Philly. They came here to Philly, and it actually, now that I think about it, I think it was the last WWE live event that I went to. So,
Okay.
At this point, Kevin Owens had just come up to the main roster. He was still the NXT champion. He was feuding with John Cena. And at that event, the main event was Kevin Owens versus John Cena. And so I'm sitting outside. I had the tickets for my friend. As per usual, Jeff, like with us, I'm the ticket purchaser. I'm the holder of the tickets.
Yeah.
I buy the tickets. Day of the show comes, everyone gets together outside and we go in. So I'm waiting for my friend because he got off work. I was off that day. So I'm outside of the Wells Fargo Center. I'm sitting on, it's not really a bench, but it's like a stone slab bench type. And I'm sitting there waiting. I have my head down. I'm in my phone, and someone approaches me, and I look up. Now I was also wearing my Kevin Owens too. That didn't help. But someone came up to me. Swear to God, on my life, they came like, "Holy shit, are you Kevin Owens?" And I was like, no, he really like thought it, and like everyone like turned their heads, and they were looking at me, and I was like, nah, man, I'm not. I appreciate it though, but I'm not. My friend said I should have played it off. Should have been like, yeah, hell yeah, man, I
That'd
am
have been
Kevin
funny.
Owens. And so I was, yeah, it was hilarious, and the guy was like, oh, I hope you kick John Cena's ass tonight. So great times.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think of like I said, this was a great match by Garcia and Andrade, but what do you think of Garcia losing twice in a row? You have any problems with it? I personally don't because of the good showing, and he's kind of I don't want to say rookie, but he's one of the younger guys. It's not like you know
I think it leads to the storyline of him losing, and that's why it's okay.
I agree. But this was a great match. Again, Andrade with the figure eight taps out Garcia. Great match.
I know.
Next up,
Coog says I should have signed the autographs.
yeah,
And
I was gonna say that too. You should have signed an autograph.
I'm just such an honest person. Like looking back on it, like if I could have like a do over of that day, I mean, I wouldn't have went to a WWE
Yeah.
event,
Well,
but if the tickets were there, like I was outside, like yes, I absolutely should have just been like, yes, I am. But then like at some point the gig would have had to been up because it's like
yeah,
I was
but
going to go inside and flash a ticket to get in.
yeah, it would have
So
been
it's
so
like,
easy to just be like KO with a marker, be like boop boop, thank you.
I know. And then I could have just walked to like the other side of the building to get away from everyone and go in the other. I know I should have. I didn't. But it is what it is.
All right, next up we had a recap of the MJF and Acclaimed segment from the end of Dynamite, where the Acclaimed were assaulted and destroyed at the end of this week's Dynamite. After that, we had Nick Wayne versus Dalton Castle. And I think the Coug loves Dalton Castle as much as I do with the Peacock Power. Love me some Dalton Castle. This was great. This was actually a really good match. I was kind of wondering, if Nick Wayne's style and Dalton Castle's were going to mesh well, but I thought it came out fantastic. Dude, at one point when Luchasaurus chokeslammed both of the boys, or I'm sorry, not Luchasaurus. Yeah, it wasn't Luchasaurus. Chokeslams both of the boys on the outside. Dude, I thought he killed them. Did you see that? You saw that spot?
I did.
Oh my God.
Castle had me. I was dying.
I mean, they were both fully extended, both arm choke slam and just ate the mat. Ugh, it was nasty.
So Dalton Castle comes out at the beginning of this match, and he's like, he screams, "You won't believe the morning I've had."
Yeah.
He's like, "I saw a herd of elk, an American eagle, and a sea lion all in one morning," and I'm just like, "You go to the zoo?" Like, what is... but no, I loved it. It was hilarious. This is a really good match. The last match was also a great match. I don't think I said that or not, but I thought this was overall a pretty good episode in terms of like the in ring. And I thought that, like you said, I think Nick Wayne and Dalton Castle definitely clicked.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Nick Wayne picks up the win here. Everybody from Nick Wayne's corner casting distraction, of course, throughout the match. Nick Wayne picks up the win with a huge springboard RKO or springboard cutter, I guess you could call it. Picks up the win with the 1, 2, 3. Was this Nick Wayne's first win in AEW?
No, because I think he won. I feel like he had to have won a match. I don't think.
The reason I ask is because Tony Schiavone seemed to they were kind of making fun of him for shedding a tear here, and I think it might have been his first win. I wasn't positive on that, but it was just something that kind of popped into my head there. You looking it up?
Yeah.
Well, Ryan Davis in chat says Dalton Castle is awesome. Oh, dude, he has one of my favorite entrances in wrestling. He was a Ring of Honor world champion back in the day. Broke his back. You'll hear him say, "I broke my back for this company." That's what he's talking about. He broke his back in a match. We'll move on here for a minute. What's that?
I'm trying to figure out, this one website's really weirdly set up.
Go
It's
to
like,
AEW's roster page and it'll have his win-loss record.
I thought they were kind of behind on that. Hold on, I'll look it up.
They've been getting it all, seem to be pretty caught up to date. Yeah, he lost to Swerve and Darby, and I don't remember any other like actual match he was in, especially a singles match. I'm almost positive it's his first win as a singles competitor. We could put it that way. But we'll move on here until we figure this part out. Next up, we had a Hangman Adam Page promo. Dude, this was the Hangman Adam Page I've been waiting for a while.
So, real quick, because I do want to talk about that much more than this. Nick Wayne is 5-4 in his AEW record. However, 4 of those wins were tag team. So
Okay.
yes, last night was his first single.
Okay. That makes sense. But dude, this Hangman promo, basically he tells Swerve, full gear, Texas deathmatch, baby. Let's fucking go.
So, man, this is what I'm talking about. This is the Hangman that is the protagonist of the company. He's the top guy. This was just incredible. Hangman says, you could have just taken my spot, Swerve. You cheated to win. You used your hometown advantage, and you could have just taken my spot, moved on to bigger things, and that could have been the end. But you made the biggest mistake you could have made. When you crossed, I didn't write this part down, but I should have. When you crossed the threshold of my house, like, you made the worst mistake.
He was like, you stepped into hell. I was like, yeah.
He's like, I will take you to hell in a Texas death match. And then, so Hangman wants Swerve to envision all of the family moments he's going to, the time with his daughters, time with his grandparents, his parents, his wife. He's just like, I want you to think about all those moments you're going to miss, because I'm taking you down to the abyss, down to the bottom. And every November, I'm going to take a walk with my son to your grave, and I'm going to watch my son piss on it. And then he says,
dude, that was nuts.
Strickland. He says, fucking Swerve Strickland, what could have been. And I'm like,
dude, when he said, I'm going to watch my son piss on your grave, my fucking jaw hit my lap instantly. I was just like, oh my God. This was the Hangman I've been waiting for, man. That anxious millennial cowboy thing was cool when we were first introduced to him and all that shit. but I want the fucking like I want the gunslinger badass. You know, I want a real Hangman. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think Hangman's at his best when you planned both of those sides. I think that they're two sides of a coin that
Yeah, yeah,
to utilize when the moment suits it. And this was the perfect time to deliver this promo. Like I think next week's pay-per-view, I think Full Gear, there's a lot of highly anticipated matches on the card, and this is absolutely one of them. Swerve and Hangman in a Texas Death Match.
Oh,
Um,
that is so. After I think 5 years now of AEW, I'm gonna say my favorite match, like my I don't want to call it a gimmick match, but stipulation match is the Texas Death Match. That is now my favorite. I got this Danielson and Ricky Starks poster here. I can't wait to get the poster for this one. You know what I mean? That's gonna be freaking awesome. And
well,
Ryan Davis said, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish
I was gonna say Ryan Davis says big fan of Swerve. He's got it. Yeah, I've been saying that for a long time. But his finisher, the house call, is it not called kill shot? So I've never seen that finisher be called the kill shot because he used to be called kill shot himself back in Lucha Underground. I've always known it as the house call. Since he's used the whole who's house thing, I think that's how long he's been calling it the house call. But this was great. I could not believe he said his son was gonna piss on Swerve's grave. It was unreal.
Well, I really love that Texas Deathmatch has become a staple for him.
Yes.
I think that that's always a really great thing you can do when you can kind of make some sort of stipulation or some sort of match. I think it really lends to the legacy of the wrestler. I mean, we see it, and I'm going to keep it strictly in AEW terms. Obviously, you could go elsewhere and be like Taker with like Last Man or Buried Alive or whatever. But like MJF with the diamond ring, when that comes around every year, that's a big gimmick and a big deal for MJF. And obviously, they've done these kinds of matches without Hangman. You know, like you said, Starks,
Yeah.
Danielson, and Mox and Archer. But like outside of those two, like this is generally a Hangman match, which I think is great.
Yeah, me too. I feel like there's three guys that the Texas Death Match usually happens with. It's Mox, Lance Archer, and Hangman. You know, mostly Hangman and Lance Archer. And it just kind of feels weird to leave Mox out, so kind of have to.
Right.
Next up, we had Rush and Dralistico versus the Workhorsemen. And man, I am so happy Rush is here. La Facción Ingobernables. I'm so glad they're here. They're back. JD Drake, dude. This guy's chops sound like freaking shotgun blast, don't they? He was having a chop battle with Dralistico, and Dralistico's were barely audible compared to JD Drake's. It sounded like he was slapping the backside of a semi-truck. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, LFI is just such a cool looking group. Just a dope looking group in presentation and the way they carry themselves.
Rush is legit scary.
So this was the first match of the night where like I wasn't like, oh, this is great. Like I thought this match was fine. Like it didn't really carry for me, but I don't know if that's anything against LFI or even the Workhorsemen. It didn't click for me, but I thought it was fine. Like it wasn't bad.
Yeah, the second half was much better once Rush got involved into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can see where you're coming from there. But I did have some fun in this match. Just anytime I get to see Rush right now, absolutely love it. Got a huge moonsault from JD Drake as well. But he missed and went splat. And of course, you know, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Rush finishes it off. I thought it was a decent match, nothing to scream about, but anytime I see Rush right now, I'm super happy. I'm sure the Coog was great, or Coog was happy as well.
So after the match, House of Black shows up.
Yeah.
Says that they're hard of hearing. The enemy of our enemy is also our enemy, says Brody. Referring to Ricky, Big Bill, who hold the tag titles. House of Black go on to elaborate. They say that they want said tag titles, and they will take them at Full Gear. Julia Hart also steps up and says that she will beat Willow tonight to guarantee her rematch for the TBS title and that she's going after Stat.
Yeah. So something instantly popped into my head here. So we had Big Brody King talking about the kings of the Black Throne are going after the tag titles. And then we had Julia Hart talking about going after Statlander's TBS title. And I just wrote, I guess Buddy's just kind of hanging out. You know what I mean? Like, it should have at least had Buddy say something. You know what I mean? He's just kind of back there like, it's all good.
Yeah, I would have had Buddy challenge for a title too. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like, I would have thrown something. I know I'm very critical of this, and I'm not saying that I'm justifying it, but like, give him like an ROH pure title at Full Gear. Like, give him something to do.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, at least give him something to do. Challenge somebody.
Yeah, maybe he'll be in the 0 hours. We don't have any of the 0 hour match.
It was just like this promo. Like, I had no problem with it. Don't get me wrong, but I just giggled to myself like, all right, Buddy's just chilling. Okay. You know.
So I was thinking about this when I watched this segment after the match, and obviously we've been talking about for at this point a couple of months. How can Collision stand out from Dynamite and Rampage? How can it be its own thing? I personally think it needs to. And same for Dynamite. And I think that something that they could really do, and I don't think they will, but I would love for it to be the case. I would love for a double, if not triple down, like making House of Black the marquee Collision, like the focus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, because I'm like, every week these guys and Julia come out and just do some awesome work, whether it be promos or presentation. They have that big fight feel to them, and I just think, oh yeah, Coog, Buddy is totally going to be in the Continental class.
Did they release all the competitors yet? I know I saw a big list, but I think it might have just been someone's wish list.
It's a wish list. Danielson's the only one confirmed for it. But like, I don't know. Like, I think that would be a great thing you can do. Like, I personally think the House of Black should win the tag titles. I don't think they will, but I think they should. And I do think Julia should beat Statlander as well at Full Gear.
Have a good one, Ryan. Thanks for joining.
You, yeah, appreciate it. So I think that, like, make House of Black just your focal point of TV. Like, and like, you have plenty of feuds lined up for them right now, whether it be FTR, whether it be Billy, Big Bill, and Ricky, or LFI. Like, there's plenty of stuff that you have lined yourself up where you could keep them busy for a long time. And the same goes with Julia, with all that's going on right now in that TBS title like slot. Like, there's just a lot you could do. And I think that by giving them the show, by kind of making them having them fill CM Punk's role in the show of like, hey, like, House of Black one way or another should main event the show every. Hey, like, they should be opening the show. They should have something of relevance and significance during the show. And I think that could really help fill that void that has been left by.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Next up, we had Chris Statlander, Willow, and Lexi Nair with an interview backstage. These are a little awkward for me. I don't know what they're aiming for, but it just feels like more high school stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, just add this to a match. You know what I mean? Add this time to a match. We didn't need this.
So here's the thing, right? I am relieved and pleased with this segment. And let me explain why. I think that this segment continues to really kind of set up a possibility that they aren't going to just waste our time, and they are going to have Sky Blue make a significant.
I see what you're saying. I see.
Obviously, on Wednesday, we're going to have Sky Blue versus Red Velvet, and the winner of that match gets added to the TBS title match. And I think in general, this segment, it adds to that title feud. Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and Julia Hart, Sky Blue, all of these girls should absolutely be doing something on TV. So I didn't really have a problem with this segment, as long as we're going somewhere with it, which now it feels like we're back on track to go somewhere with it. So I thought it was a good segment. I definitely don't have a problem with it, and I think that it adds up and sets up a well planned out match. So I'm happy.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. All right, next up we had Roderick Strong versus Darius Martin. And dude, I was very, very conflicted at the beginning of this match because I'm seeing Roderick Strong coming down to the ring, still in his neck brace and being pushed in a wheelchair. And for my first reaction, I was laughing. I was like, dude, I can't believe this guy's coming to the ring in a wheelchair still, you know. And then my brain was kind of like, is this in bad taste? You know what I mean? Like, faking being in a wheelchair. You know, I don't know if I truly. It's hard to say. It's weird for me to say, like, I don't know if I've ever actually had a problem with faking being in a wheelchair, but something in my brain was kind of like, should they do this? You know what I mean?
I get your point. It doesn't necessarily bother me, but I mean, I get your point.
I mean, it shouldn't bother me because they do the whole stretchers and stretchering people out all the time. So, like, I don't know what it was, but I was kind of, I laughed at first and then I was kind of like, I don't know if I should be laughing, but it's okay. You know what I mean? But then we got a great match here. I actually really loved this match. I'm not a massive Roderick Strong fan, but I loved every minute of this. The crowd was chanting neck strong. I think the crowd really helped me enjoy this match, actually. And I don't know if you noticed Roderick's new creeper mustache he's got going on, but this look of him with that neck brace on with that creepy mustache is just absolutely perfect for him. With the glasses on, you know, thought it was hilarious. And of course, Roderick picks up the win with a sick kick and the end of Heartache for the 1-2-3. After the match, we get the Kingdom jumping in the ring and absolutely annihilating Darius Martin with the wiener punch and the pile driver. The wiener punch, man. What do you think about the wiener punch? Like, you think it's a little childish or you think it's funny?
Well, I mean, it's silly.
It is definitely.
The whole gimmick is.
Yeah.
Like the whole wheelchair thing, the Adam thing, like it's all silly. So I mean, I guess that comes down to preference. Like where do you draw the line? I mean, for me, a wiener punch is not where I draw the line.
No,
I get more upset with the Kingdom calling people Melvin because I think it's so weird than like using a wiener punch. That's just me though.
yeah, and I completely agree with Coog. Nigel and Tony Schiavone were so hilarious in this match that I think it made it perfect because Tony Schiavone even called out the move. He's like, and there's the wiener punch. I lost it, dude. I was laughing. So I had fun. You know, goofy wrestling is great sometimes, and I think it was perfect right here. Had a lot of fun there.
Mm-hmm.
Next up was the announcement for it was the Continental. What exactly is it called?
The tournament's called the Continental Classic. Now, this is the first ever AEW round robin tournament. The tournament will feature 12 of the best wrestlers from around the world. The first being Bryan Danielson. Starting on November 22nd, the Dynamite before Thanksgiving, which will be in Chicago as it is usually. By the way, Jeff, the post Full Gear Dynamite is a Chicago show. Take that for what you will. The AEW Continental Classic. It will be 12 top wrestlers fighting weekly in 2 leagues of 6. There will be bouts in Chicago, Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, Erie, Montreal, Dallas, OKC, San Antonio, and the league finals will be in Orlando, with the winner crowned at Worlds.
So this was great. Seeing the announcement from Danielson with his face all bandaged up. I think he's selling a broken orbital bone. It was not from the match that he had, apparently. It was before that, I guess.
So the funny thing here for me, right, is like as bad as his last announcement was, like I just wish that he would have swapped these two announcements.
This one wasn't even advertised though, was it? They never said he has a huge
It was,
announcement tonight. This just came on out of nowhere.
there was absolutely no
Yeah.
advertisement at all about an announcement.
And then
When
I
he
saw
showed
people
up-
like, oh, another huge announcement, lame. And I was like, they didn't even say anything. Get out of here, dude.
See, whereas this one actually was a really awesome announcement
I
because it's like
know.
it is like here's the thing, right? One of the biggest things that happens with AEW is like every year guys want to go and like AEW loses people every year to so they can go do the G1 in Japan over the summer. And I'm sure that'll still happen. But I think that it's really smart on AEW's part to acknowledge that like, hey, this is something that really works for New Japan. We should try to incorporate this in our product as well. And I think that this could be a genius thing to do. Say you do this every year at this time of year, and it kind of becomes like a holiday tradition. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, from like Thanksgiving through the New Year's, like we're gonna have this tournament, and it's gonna be great. Um, that being said, like again, like I love tournaments. I think that they are a lot of fun, very exciting. It adds level of sense of urgency and value and weight to things. And obviously they could, if they wanted to, they could turn this into something where it's like the winner gets a world title shot, or like maybe they will. I don't know, but I think like you bring in like 12 of the greatest wrestlers. Also, I did take note that Tony Khan's announcement, which I read word for word, does say the greatest wrestlers around the world, which would lead me to believe that we're going to get some guys from other companies. What I would do, honestly, like especially with Danielson in it, like I would get Osprey, I would get
Absolutely.
ZSK, I would get like there's a few guys that I would bring in. I would bring someone in from either AAA or CML. I would try and stack this tournament as best you can, but also making sure that like I would say like maybe like two guys from New Japan and like one or two from Mexico, and then the other eight should just be like Danielson, Orange Cassidy. I don't know who else. I would have to really sit down and like Buddy should absolutely be in it. Like I would have to sit down and like really pick them out. Um, but like yeah, man, like let's just get some great wrestlers in the ring and do these tournaments, and I'm excited. I think it's gonna be great.
So here, I feel like this was created for Danielson, right? Like it really seems like it was made so that Tony's like, all right, I don't want to lend you to Japan for their G1, so I'm going to create the G1 for you here, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So pick who you wanted to face over in the G1 and we'll bring them over. You know what I mean? I bet you Danielson's going to get to handpick at least half of the competitors, and he's probably going to face maybe all of them.
I just hope Danielson faces Will Ospreay.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's the last one for me, where it's like right now, what is the one like AEW like what is the right now the one non AEW guy I want to see Danielson face? It's Will Ospreay.
Yeah, 100%. We may get the rematch with Okada here. Okada may be on the other end of the bracket.
No, that's Wrestle Kingdom. They're gonna do Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah, it's already confirmed for.
Yeah,
January.
you're right. They already confirmed that match. I forgot about that. Great point, though.
Which means you probably won't see Okada in. Which, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather have him than not have him, but okay.
Yeah.
Again, you should try to showcase your AEW talent, like first and foremost. So
true. Very true. All right. Next up, we had Julia Hart versus Willow Nightingale. Great match here. I am more and more impressed with Julia Hart every week, and I never thought that could even be possible after these last few months of how amazing her character has evolved into. You know what I mean? This was an amazing match. I got a little worried at the end though. Did you see the big full Nelson slam by Willow?
Mm-hmm.
And Julia looked like she either got the wind knocked out of her or it looked like it just hurt. And from that point on, like Julia looked to be in some pain. And there was a power bomb spot where Julia landed straight on her ass, like right on her tailbone. And I don't know if you've ever fallen on your tailbone, but it sends a shockwave through your entire fucking body. I wasn't sure she was going to climb those top ropes at that point, but she nails her moonsault, picks up the 1-2-3 on Willow. Did you see anything that like made you worry at all? Like I was legit thinking Julia was hurt there for a minute.
No, I think she landed on her bottom to counter the weight of the power bomb. Like I actually think that
Okay.
that was intentional. I think that that was a planned spot there.
Well, for me, it was more that full Nelson slam. It looked like she was grabbing onto her ribs, or maybe she had gotten the wind knocked out of her there. But by all means, they finished the match great. It was just little something in my mind there, but no harm, no foul. This was a fantastic, fantastic match. Julia Hart and Willow Nightingale.
I agree, and I think Julia, like you said, is just she's got to be in the running for like most improved, right?
Oh yeah. What do you think about her dethroning Statlander already? Would you be okay with it?
I think it should absolutely happen.
Same, 100%. That's where I was going. So glad we agree.
So I do want to ask you this, and this is not related to the match. This is completely, I'm changing the topic
Yep,
completely,
yeah,
but
you're
I just
good.
saw on Twitter, which also made me want to question. So Danhausen tweeted out about 30 minutes ago. He said Danhausen is returning to his couch. Um, and so I wanted to ask you, Jeff, because so obviously they ran those Danhausen video vignettes for like what felt like months, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like on last week's Rampage, they were like Danhausen returns tonight, and then Danhausen walked past real quickly RJ City, and he was like next week, and then they were like next week Danhausen returns and this week has passed, and Danhausen did not return.
Yeah, some people were pointing that out. He was supposed to be back. I think it was either on Dynamite or Collision, and we didn't see him on either one. I'm just guessing that Tony had so much stuff going on that he just didn't get that booked in there. But yeah, I'm wondering what happened to Danhausen as well. Me and the wife are huge fans, so I'm actually wondering what happened there.
Yeah, very interesting.
All right, next up we had Big Bill and Ricky Starks with Lexi Nair doing a promo. Ricky and Big Bill say they're going to finish the chapter. This felt very, very much like mocking Cody Rhodes finishing the story, dude. Did you get that at all? I loved it. I was just like, bro, this feels like they're just shitting on Cody right now the whole time.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
It was great.
You get it, yeah.
Yeah. Gonna finish the chapter. It was great. Next up, we had Paul White joining commentary for Powerhouse Hobbs. We'll just go ahead and say it, squashing a local talent, I believe. I didn't even get the guy's name. I thought this was obvious what was going to happen here with Paul White on commentary. And I actually really enjoyed him on commentary. I forgot how good he was since we haven't heard him on Rampage in so long, I'd like to see him, or what? Wait, he was on Dark, right? Not Rampage?
Yeah, he was on Dark.
He was on like Dark and Dark Elevation, I think, something like that. But he was good. I actually enjoyed it. His interaction with Tony Schiavone was great. But Powerhouse Hobbs squashes this local talent, and Don Callis gets on the mic, and he basically tries to talk Paul White out of the match, out of helping Jericho and Kenny Omega. And he's like, "You're not gonna scare me, dude. I'm the giant, And he tells Powerhouse Hobbs to go kick Paul White's ass. And Paul White just stands up, and I didn't think the size difference was gonna be this big, but he was towering over Will Hobbs. I was shocked, even though he is the giant. I was like, damn. But Will Hobbs kind of gets held back by the rest of the Don Callis family, and I'm still not very interested in seeing him in the match with Jericho and Kenny.
All right, so number one, so would you say it was a good idea to do a squash match?
Yes, because remember my rule for squash matches, they only make sense for me if there's a point to them afterwards, and we got a whole big thing afterwards. So I think, yes, this one was justified.
Okay, good. So I wrote in my notes after a squash match, you would defend this. So I'm glad that you're up to snuff right now, up to par with the script. So I appreciate it. Obviously, it's a squash match, so I'm going to give it the triple F minus as I usually do. Can't happen. Number two, as much as I have zero interest in Paul White being in this match, which now is Brian Cage in it. Admittedly, I missed Rampage, so I guess they're just. I mean, I would have called Will Ospreay, considering that technically Ospreay is in the group.
Yeah.
I would have, like, I guess Sammy's not cleared yet, so like I would have brought Sammy in. Um, Kind of weird that you have members of your faction and you're enlisting Brian Cage to be a part of this match. It is quite the random addition to the match. One that I would say is especially weird considering that Hobbs and Brian Cage should still have beef, by the way, from the Team Taz days. But I guess that's water under the bridge. Okay. Um, However, I will say that if you're going to have Paul White and like in this match, and you're going to have Paul White kind of like build him up here, I thought this was the absolute best way to do it, and it really maximized what you could do with Paul White in terms of this segment. So I will give the segment itself props, even though it's kind of like, well, we shouldn't, like, you took a wrong turn and the car went into a ditch, but you were able to pull the car out. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm impressed that you were able to pull the car out, but you just should have went left. Instead, you went right into the ditch. So I mean, it's like I'm not going to give you props for making this match seem exciting, but still went in the ditch.
So I got to ask you a question about squash matches here.
Sure.
So do you think they shouldn't exist, period?
No. So I do think that there's a place for them. The problem is that the place for them is not on your live flagship television. And maybe once in a while, and that's the thing. Like maybe like if you're just doing a random one just for the sake of it. But we sit here every week, every show, and there's at least one, and that's where it's like there's just too much. There's so many great people on this roster, both on the men's, the women's, tags, the trios, there's so many great wrestlers and so many great talkers, so many great characters, and there's so many things you could do. And for me, just having a squash match is just lazy. And I understand the argument when you lead it into a promo. I would just have them cut the promo.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying because they have put too many of these on. But I always just go and I think back to the days of The Undertaker coming out and just fucking choke slamming some poor schmuck to hell, or Kane just just destroying somebody. Even remember the Young Bucks? I think it was it Matt Jackson that was, a local talent one time on WWE?
Yeah, they've all been there. Trent's been there, they've all done it. But here's the thing. There's a time and a place for it. And again, I'm not even saying that was always the right call in WWE either. There's a time to do it, but that time is not every single Dynamite and every single Collision.
And I 100% agree with that. Yes.
And that's because here's the thing: when Dark and Elevation were a thing, I never had a problem with what what those shows were.
I can agree with that.
They were what they were. They were there to give young talent reps, bring in indie talent for possible hey, let's check this guy out and see how they are. They were there to do a little bit of storyline recap and movement, progression. Sorry. And they were there for squash matches, and it was an hour and a half of content, which was squash matches and padded win-loss records, and that was fine. It was okay, and because again, I think the squash match has a place in wrestling, but I'm not gonna sit here every single Dynamite, every single Collision. I'm not gonna complain about squash matches on Rampage, that's not going to happen because of what that show is and what they're trying to accomplish in an hour of television. So you'll never hear me unless it was all of the matches on Rampage were squash matches. That would probably be the only time where I'd be like, well, that's kind of for Rampage. But Dynamite and Collision, it's just not the place for it. It's just not.
So
I think what I would have had done here is not a squash match. Again, I get you have Hobbs, you want him to look powerful, but in the sense of the kayfabe, it's wow, man, how impressive was it that Hobbs beat up that local geek? It's no, I would much rather be impressed with Hobbs beating up Angelo Parker or somebody who's on the roster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just hell, at the very bare minimum, I don't know, have him destroy Brandon Cutler.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going, and I totally understand.
I just think it's kind of dumb.
I would just ask, so let's say that we weren't getting squash matches every episode of AEW. This one would have made sense in this slot if we weren't getting them every time, right? Like if
I
they
mean,
weren't overdone, I feel like this would have been perfectly fine.
yes and no. I mean, again, at the end of the day, like we could say, I think most of the squash matches we get, you could argue like, well, if this was the only one they did in the last 2 weeks, would it be acceptable? Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
almost any of them are like that. You know what I mean? Like not
Uh-huh.
all of them, but almost all of them are like that, where it's like, well, I mean, you can argue that you're getting something out of it,
Yeah. And Coog's
but
got a good one there. Serpentico. Like we kind of know what's going to happen in a Serpentico match. So, that would have been fine too.
yeah, exactly. I don't know.
But
Pick someone on your roster, have the match go a little bit longer. I don't know.
I get you. I was okay with it just because it is the type of squash match that I said I was okay with. Something has to follow it. Like when a guy just comes out, kills someone, and walks off like Wardlow does, I'm not super into that,
Like, here's the thing: the only time I'm ever entertained by a squash match is if I like the wrestler's entrance because we're getting their entrance.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't like your entrance as a wrestler, like Orange Cassidy doing a squash match would be great because I love Jane. I love the entrance. Like, I pop for the entrance. It's a great entrance, and that would be my enjoyment. But like, I don't know, Hobbs is cool, but I'm not like in love with Hobbs's entrance. So I'm like, all right, well, I don't know, whatever.
No, they definitely could work on his entrance. They could give him something a little more intimidating
No, no,
rather
no.
than.
Don't get me wrong. That's not a knock against. I think his entrance is perfect for him. It's not an entrance that I'm entertained watching like on a regular basis. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I feel you.
So I mean, yeah, it's. I would do less squash matches though. I think you could.
Oh,
You like
absolutely.
here's the thing, right? You could have accomplished this backstage in a video vignette. Like you could have. You could have had like Paul White talking to some talent, coaching talent because he's a coach. And like this all could have happened backstage with Paul White still freaking out and still like getting in Hobbs's face, and you see that size difference. Like you could have had that as a pre-tape, or you could have had it happen in the ring. Like here's what you could have done. You could have put Paul White on commentary for like maybe leading up to that point for like the whole show, and then like have it kind of organically happen, where like Paul White's in the ring, and and it just happens where like Hobbs shows up and just starts beef with him.
Yeah,
You
I
know what
see
I
what you're
mean? Like,
saying.
I don't know. There are ways around it where you don't have to do a squash.
Yeah.
Squash matches are lazy. It's like, hey, we need to get both these guys in this situation. What should we do? Just throw a local talent out there to die. Okay,
All
that's
right.
boring.
Well, let's move on here. We'll get to the next segment here. We had FTR with Lexi Nair doing a promo on Little Rick and Big Bill. I love the way that they called him Little Rick. That was great. It was a decent promo from FTR, but I don't know. At this point, I'm not sure how I feel about FTR. Like I'm still a massive fan of theirs, but they're just kind of there right now. You know what I mean?
Jeff, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
So I watched. I swear to God on my life, I watched this segment. Right, like I sat there and I watched and I paid attention because
But you
obviously we do
remember
this show.
nothing, right?
I have no notes for this segment.
Neither do I.
I wrote nothing down, and I don't remember anything that was said.
All
And
I
like,
have is FTR promo on Little Ricky and Big Bill, and that's the only thing I wrote.
yeah, I have nothing. I have segment 11, FTR. The next thing I wrote was segment 12, the main event.
Yeah, and it's funny because FTR hair, he says a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't remember any of it. I feel so bad. That's funny.
Yeah, it was just in one ear out the other for me, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh man, I think it's kind of insane to me how in a mess the tag team division is in AEW, because historically the tag division is one of the best strong, like the biggest strengths in AEW. Like we always look back on it, you like since day one, be like, man, what a tag team company. Always, 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 always. And like now we're sitting out here and it's like, okay, well, so like what's the state of the tag division? It's like, well, you have Ricky and Big Bill as tag champions, which I don't hate Ricky and Bill, but like I've never been a fan of like throw these two guys together and they win the belt. You know, and that's what this team felt like. Obviously, they were made a team before they ran for the titles or went for the titles, but like it was just so on the cusp of like, man, like there's all these tag teams you could be doing something. Gave the titles to Ricky and Big Bill, who like they're not even really a tag team. And then like you have the Young Bucks who have this magical title shot that they've been sitting on that have just finally was talked about on Dynamite on Wednesday. And then you have FTR who are just like, I don't know, like I understand CM Punk's gone, so like maybe their heart's just not there. But like it definitely doesn't seem like FTR has been the same. Punk's
No.
left.
I think they were obviously the ones who were not happy with him being fired. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, man, I'm not happy about him being fired either. But at the end of the day, like you're under contract. Like you know what? Honestly, I think the biggest problem with AEW's tag division right now is it just feels like a lot of the teams that we have come to expect to deliver and that are being booked to deliver are just not delivering right now. Where it's like I feel like the Young Bucks have become stagnant. I'm not happy with the Bucks and where they've been since CM Punk's been fired, and the same could be said for FTR. Like FTR and the Bucks had that amazing match at All In, right? They killed it, and then Punk gets fired the next, and like since then, like I've just been kind of like, man, I really just don't need to see FTR or the Young Bucks on my TV. But the problem is that they've kind of still been focal point of the division.
So I got to disagree after this week. I am absolutely thinking we've got a new Young Bucks coming. We're getting the Bucks versus Kenny and Jericho. You know what I mean? So I was agreeing with you up until these last 2 weeks, I believe. I think we are getting a reinvented Bucks, and I think we're seeing the very, very beginnings of it starting.
I mean, for me, it's show me.
Absolutely, yeah. But you know, this
like,
little attitude that they have with Jericho and with Kenny, I've never seen it before, really. You know what I mean? So,
and like here, don't get me wrong. In my opinion, the Young Bucks overall are the greatest tag team of all time. They're my favorite tag team of all time. Straight up tag team. However, and again, I say this from a place of love. Again, love the Bucks. It seems to me the perception is that like, well, CM Punk got fired. They signed for big money, and then they just kind of checked out. Like BTE doesn't come out anymore.
yeah.
Like there's been no explanation for that. It's like just they went from putting out like really entertaining 15 to 45 minute videos every week to hey, here's a minute clip. Hey, here's Colt and Brandon.
Did you see?
Don't care about it at all.
Did you see that they were no longer listed as EVPs on the website?
No, I didn't see that.
So it was only for a brief moment, but everybody noticed it, and then they were like, "Oh, well, that was just an oversight. Sorry," and then they put it back on there.
I mean, I don't know, but they just signed multi-year deals for big money, so it's
Yeah.
like I don't see that being anything of relevance. Just
No. It was somehow it was a mistake, but I'm just wondering if it was something like something they're gonna use in a storyline, maybe.
maybe. Hopefully, I would love to see everybody get back on track, but it's just like, and again, like obviously, I have a bias here as a CM Punk fan, but like, man, there are just aspects of this company that have not been the same since they fired him.
Yeah.
And like, and the weird thing is like it's not even like he made those things right. Like, you know what I mean? Like the company was great before CM Punk got there, but it's just like again, like I just feel like the Bucks. Like, what are we doing? It's like as soon as Punk got fired, they just kind of got really stagnant.
Imagine they accuse Kenny of it though. They're gonna be like, "You're the one that took our EVP away, Kenny."
Like I mean, yeah, I mean Kenny and Hangman are still out there kind of doing good work, but like
Yeah.
not the Bucks. And like again, like FTR also been very stagnant. Like I don't know what's going to give on that front. I hope FTR don't win the tag titles at Full Gear. I don't think that they're the right ones. I don't think they should hold the titles right now. I just don't.
Nah.
I would have House of Black win.
Yeah, absolutely. The Kings of the Black Throne, like you said, make these guys the focal point of Collision. That'd be freaking awesome. All right, next up, it was time for the main event. We had the Righteous with the new members, Lance Archer and Jake the Snake Roberts, versus Darby Allin, Sting, and Adam Copeland. Um, this was awesome, and it made me think, like, I guess we're kind of on a Sting farewell tour here.
Mhm.
Do you think that this Sting farewell tour is going to start selling tickets? You know what I mean? Because we were struggling selling some tickets in certain cities for a while. We won't deny that. You think it's going to start picking up that ticket sales? Because I'll tell you what, if Sting's coming to Philly, I'm buying tickets. You know what I mean? We know it's his last ride here, I guess would be the word. I'm buying tickets. He could come here 3 weeks in a row. I'm buying tickets for each week if I can.
So number one, I mean, I'm sure this thing is always going to pay a factor into tickets.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. Oh, had a long day. Number two, um, I think that like this was such a course correction in the best way where we talked about it on Wednesday where I was like, why the hell is Sting and Darby wrestling two unsigned wrestlers who aren't even that good? I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of the Outrunners, Jeff. Um,
Not
this was
huge
much
fans.
better. I know you are. This is much, much better. Where it was like it was a really cool trios match because it leads to the pay-per-view next week. And Lance Archer and the Righteous, they're dope. Jeff,
Dude,
you dig what I'm saying, man?
I absolutely dig what you're saying because there has never been a team that was just kind of out of nowhere put together and me being instantly like, this is the perfect fucking group together. Like,
Oh, for sure. It's such
it,
a good.
it's just as soon as you see it, you're like, how did we not put this together sooner? But, the Righteous are pretty new here. Uh, great pairing with Lance Archer. My only issue is I don't want Lance Archer to just be this everybody dies character anymore. I want him to get serious and kind of like take the reins of this group a little bit. You know what I mean?
I mean, I love the gimmick where it's like everybody
I'm
grabs
okay
it.
with that, but in this promo, like he was standing in the background pacing. They all finished their promos and then he just screamed at the camera, "Everybody dies." And I was like, "Okay." But I don't want that to be the only thing he's saying. I don't want him to just be like a Luchasaurus that growls.
I get what you're saying, and maybe like I'm just devil's advocating
Yeah, I
it
know.
here, but like I like it. Like I
I
think
love his character.
you already have Vincent kind of being the mouthpiece. You already have Jake being the mouthpiece. You don't need Lance Archer to be this like articulate guy. So like no, it's just like everybody dies.
That makes sense. I can see what you're saying. What up, David, in the chat? Hope this tournament is done right. There's too much talent for that. Oh, it's gonna be done very, very right.
It's gonna be awesome.
I can almost assure you of that. I doubt we're gonna have any issues with it whatsoever. But this was a great match here with the Righteous and Lance Archer, Darby Allin, Sting, and Adam Copeland. Um, Darby gets beat down for most of the match, just like most of Darby matches. He had a really big sling on his shoulder. I'm wondering if that was just to kind of emphasize his injury for a visual effect, or I'm wondering if that is actually holding his shoulder together because he wants to wants to fight through the pain. But absolutely great match. Awesome hot tag to Adam Copeland. He goes running wild. He hits an awesome combo with Sting where Sting does the Stinger death drop along with a elbow off the top rope from Adam Copeland. Elbow that like button for me if you don't mind. And this was a really, really good main event. Adam Copeland picks up the win with a huge spear for the 1-2-3. Excellent main event here. Love seeing Sting. I hope Darby's not seriously injured because that sling just really, the visual effect of that sling on his arm really amplified the psychology of that. And Christian Cage shows up after the match and stands tall up on the ramp. And Nigel McGuinness, man, he yells Christian the way that Tony Schiavone yells Sting. And I was absolutely in love with this. And I can't say enough about how awesome Nigel was this entire night. Did you notice how awesome Nigel was the whole night?
I mean, Nigel's always awesome.
Yeah, but tonight was just like there was 6 or 7 spots that I was just like Nigel is on it tonight. He's so good. Had a lot of fun, but great main event. Love seeing Sting. We got to see him in Philly. I was super happy. Still no Ric Flair yet. I'm sure
Thank God.
you're happy about that. Just kind of,
Thank God.
yeah, we haven't even seen the energy drink or anything. So I'm sure
he'll come out with them at Full Gear, I would imagine.
yeah.
Thank God. Keep
Yeah,
Ric Flair
I'm not asking
the hell
for him. I'm
away.
just pointing it out,
I actually, Jeff, you ever have those it was kind of like a daydream where I for some reason I had a daydream that we were doing the podcast and I heard your voice in my head and it said I'm just saying guys, maybe Ric Flair's the devil. That could be really cool.
Oh God.
And I snapped out of it. I was like, oh,
No
terrible.
way. That'd be horrible.
Terrible. That would be fucking. I don't know why. I was just sitting there. I was just like, that sounds like something Jeff would come up with.
Nah, I'm sticking with CM Punk is the devil with the Bucks, and now I'm adding FTR to the other two in the group. Bucks and FTR. Going full. I'm going all in. I'm diving into the deep end of this wild theory.
Well, I've never wanted you to be more right than I do right now, but we'll see.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we hit up what's going to be on Dynamite this week?
No, I don't think we have anything. I think that's pretty much it. It was a good episode of Collision. It was fine.
Yeah,
It was a
absolutely.
tape show, so I was happy with how good the show was for a tape show, I guess. So
Listen, I'm just going to let everybody know. Just look up Hikaru Shida's Twitter. She's been posting some pictures from a photo shoot. And my God, this woman is amazing. She is unreal. All right, what do we got going on for Dynamite, sir?
I may be crazy. It's definitely possible. But I have nothing that I saw that was fully announced.
Yeah, I've been scrolling for Dynamite and I don't see anything. Let's see here. Okay, Wednesday the 8th. That's already happened. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
I do know that we have, and they didn't announce this last night, at least I don't recall. I know that we have Orange Cassidy and Hook versus John Moxley and Wheeler Yuta on Dynamite. Other than that, I don't know if
Okay,
and
the street fight. The Jericho, Kenny, and Ibushi street
the Like a
fight.
Dragon street fight, which, by the way, now that I think about it, very odd that that's not happening in Full Gear, by the way.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. And then the third thing that was said was happening but wasn't officially announced was Julia versus Red Velvet. I think
That's the one we do. No, we just got Julia versus Red Velvet
Sky
on Wednesday.
Blue. Sky Blue versus
there you
Red
go,
Velvet. Yeah, and whoever wins that makes the TBS title match at Full Gear. And yes, Kook, we will be doing a watch along on Saturday.
Man.
Now, what was announced, I guess, was added to the pay-per-view card that I do have was LFI, Ricky Starks and Big Bill, FTR, and House of Black for the tag title at Full Gear. So that was out.
Nice. Speaking of Paul White real quick from earlier. So did you catch the line that he said? I kind of just remembered this. So when they were talking about whether he was afraid of Will Hobbs, he's like, I've been in the ring with beasts, animals, rattlesnakes, guys I couldn't even see. So the beast is Brock Lesnar. The animal is Batista. The rattlesnake is Stone Cold. And the guy he couldn't even see is John Cena. That's a great little touch by him, throwing that in commentary, man.
Look, and here's the thing, right? I don't want to be that guy, Jeff. I know he's your favorite wrestler. So, I feel like a bad guy doing it. But it's I don't hate Paul White as a person, as a personality, as a character. Even. I think Paul White, believe it or not, I think Paul White actually, you're going to see him a lot on the commentary team.
I hope so.
A couple years from now. I think he's going to take Jim Ross's spot.
Yeah. I think they've been training him for it.
I think so too. And I think that's something we're going to see from him at some point. My only thing against Paul White is I just don't want to see this guy compete in a ring.
No, and I have to agree with you because, I mean, listen, when I saw him standing up with Will Hobbs in front of him, I will admit that it looked like he could possibly take him. You know what I'm saying? But when you see the guy walking, one of his legs is kind of it looks like it's collapsing in on itself a little bit. And I don't want to make fun of the guy, you know what I mean? But in the capacity of a giant getting back in a wrestling ring, I'm just a little bit nervous for the guy. You know what I mean? He's got a new hip, I believe. Like they had reconstructive hip surgery. You know, it's nothing against him. It's just kind of like, listen, I get it, you know, but time's over for all that stuff. I would rather he just kind of be on commentary and stand up and give someone the KO punch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We'll see what they do. Hopefully he just kind of stands there and KO punches everybody and you know, but it should be all right.
Yeah.
The Coog says Jericho versus Takeshita today at DDT added to the AEW storyline. Wait, what?
Yes, Jeff. Chris Jericho and Takeshita had a match at DDT.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was announced a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I don't watch the outside stuff.
Yeah,
So
but I mean, it was talked about on. I guess you're not on Twitter that
you
much.
know, we've established I have terrible memory. So,
Well, that's true as
you know.
well.
All right, man. I think that's gonna do it for us for tonight. You want to go ahead and close us out?
All right. Well, this has been episode 186 of the Broken Tables podcast. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe on your way out. Thank you for everyone hanging out with us here tonight. Thank you to the Coog and David Durham, and Ryan was here a little while ago, and everyone else. You know, really appreciate everyone hanging out with us. If you're not listening to us live, let us know how excited you are for Full Gear this week. Speaking of Full Gear, a lot of content coming to the channel this week. Tomorrow we have the Game Room podcast with, like, honestly, one of our, like, I'm really looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a pretty stacked show just on the, because, like, I'm done Starfield for now, so I want to kind of give, like, a final review of Starfield. I've been playing Spider-Man, and I've been playing Modern Warfare 3, so I want to give impressions for both of those. So that's going to be coming as well. Might talk a little bit about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie as well. So, I'm excited for the show tomorrow. I think it's going to be a pretty damn good show. Other than that, we have our Dynamite review, which will happen. That show might actually have to happen on Thursday, Jeff, but I will let you know. And then we might do something on Friday night for Rampage and Collision on Friday,
We'll see.
along with our Saturday watch along of Full Gear, in which the Curly's order will be placed. So a lot of
Nice.
content this week. Huge week for the channel. Make sure you subscribe so that way you're notified. Hit the bell. Get all the notifications about us going live when we go live and all that good stuff. You can follow us on Twitter in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow Jeff on Podcast's Twitter account. You can join our Discord. We talk about video games, pro wrestling, movies and TV, music, sports, you name it. We're talking about it. So you definitely want to be part of that as well. And I guess lastly, just, you know, make sure you become a member of the channel. That way you can get a really cool arcade cabinet badge and level up as you go, alongside some really cool AEW emojis, along with hopefully a soon-to-be Zelda Doge emoji.
I found the greatest Doge Zelda emoji ever. It will be here soon.
There you go. Can't wait to see it. But until tomorrow for the Game Room podcast, we will see you guys then.
All right. Thank you guys very much for joining us here tonight. And until next time, top guys out. Bye bye.